Welcome to the Association 4.0 podcast, your association's no-fluff playbook to navigating and thriving in Industry 4.0 or the digital marketplace. Each week, we bring expert insights to help you and your association stay ahead of the curve.
Today, I have the great honor of facilitating this panel, and each one of these execs up here and organizations are doing something in AI or have been doing something in AI. It could be policies, could be operational efficiency, member engagement. So we're gonna go down that road with them, then understand their journeys. But first, let's do some self-intros. Start with you first, Laura. Name, title, or how long have you been there? And what's your favorite AI tool? And if you have multiple ones, why don't you just let us know the last one you used or the most recent one you used?
Okay, I'm Laura Lewis. I'm the Director of Technology from the Society of Critical Care Medicine. I've been there more years than I want to talk about. No, I've been there for 22 years. And my latest favorite AI app is the AI tool within Acrobat. I hate reading contracts. I hate it. And so it does this nice little synopsis for you, and it points out major areas within the contracts. And if you work in IT, you're reading contracts all the time. So I find that very handy.
I'm Eric O'Connor, Chief Innovation Officer at the American Association of Nurse Anesthesiology. I visited my son this weekend at college, and now I can't talk, so I apologize. The good news is I'm not sick, I just can't talk. I've been at AANA for 6 years, and coolest tool that I played with lately is something called Ask Humans, and it is for qualitative research. You send a link out to your members. They can answer questions in just speech in whatever way they would like to answer those questions. And then imagine at the end of your conference, you say, hey, everybody, tell us what you thought. And it then dissects all of that qualitative analysis from your members and spits out reports. So I've been playing with that because I think there's some good opportunities for us.
My name is Mike Lakis. I work for the American Foundry Society. I am the Senior Vice President of Operations there. I've been there 10 years, started on April 1st, 2014. I guess the joke's on them. My favorite AI tool, not favorite, but the one I've used the latest. 6 days ago, OpenAI came out with a new model called ChatGPT 01, and it uses a chain of thought for developing inferences. And it is incredibly good at some things and not as good as other things compared to the older models. I was at the prompt about to type in my first question. What do I ask this tremendous tool that's taken humankind 200,000 years of evolution to develop? And I asked it, is a hot dog a sandwich? And it didn't answer. It said, that's a semantic argument. And then I said, yes or no? And it's yes. So there you go. That's your takeaway for today.
Manuel Alfaro. I work at the American College of Chest Physicians. I'm the CIO and Senior Director of IT, Membership, and Digital Learning. I've been there for 6.5 years. For the most part, I use a lot of ChatGPT, but I forget the name, but my friends use it a ton. They constantly sending me songs generated by ChatGPT about cats and other stuff. You should check it out. It's hilarious. You can just tell it a topic and then a style, and then it would just generate a song. So I live in the suburbs, they live in the city, so there's a constant stream of country songs about how suburbs is not great and the city is amazing. So I recommend it.
Great, thanks. So my name is Kevin, and my favorite AI tool is sherryai.org. So that actually is a website. You can find a lot of our resources there. But not only does that tool give me answers, but it also tells me what to do. And it has a human behind it. So that's one of my favorite tools. The next question I want is let everyone here understand kind of where have you integrated AI, if it was into your operations or member engagement, and what kind of measurable impact are you experiencing so far?
Sure. I would say that the biggest place that we've integrated AI is on the operations side. Currently it's in marketing and HR. We have an excellent gentleman who works in our marketing department, and he only costs $20 a month. And his name is Chad. So we've used that to like leverage the ability to come up with sample copy and things of that nature. And we have employee workbooks and all this fun data to read over regarding health insurance and everything like that. So we, staff utilizes that to help analyze and ask questions so they don't have to bother HR.
Similar fashion, beginning of the year, we went through a reorg, and there's a lot of pressure on staff to, the typical pressure, produce more, increase revenue, figure things out quicker. And the recurring theme was, we spent a lot of time spent on routine operational tasks like drafting emails, PowerPoints. And it boiled down to, like, I'm oversimplifying it, but pretty basic concepts of like finding content, creating content, and evaluating content. That was it. And so we figure what would be good use cases where AI will be appropriate to solve for. We integrated across many areas. For sure, like we roll out ChatGPT to all staff through our Chess account, and then we created repositories of information for like different SOPs, especially HR. It was the first pilot thing that we did. We're testing it with our annual meeting handbook and manuals. That's how we use it, and it's embedded right now across the organization. I think there's still people that are not using it, but I think by Q1, Q2, I don't think people are going to even remember how to work without ChatGPT, at least in our organization.
So we are in the beginning process of rolling out AI. And so when I think about what we're looking to do with AI at AANA, there's three different pieces. One is, how do we automate work? How do we augment work? And how do we accelerate work? And we've started working with the marketing team. Are there any marketers in the room? You? Hey, okay. So thinking about the marketing team, I had a quick quiz. We're sitting in the room. We have about 20 people on the team. Who's using ChatGPT? Shocker, everybody raised their hand. And that's when we said, oh boy, we have to do something across the organization, because we knew everybody was using it, but we didn't know exactly how. And so we wanted to really start to understand that. And where we started was from a governance process of what would we need to put in place across HR and IT. But at the same time, we were prototyping how would we use this across the marketing function. And so that's really where we've been spending a bunch of our time, is understanding how could we automate, accelerate, and augment work there before rolling it out to the rest of the company. And so we're right in that middle process right now, where we've done proof of concept inside the marketing team, and we're starting to move into the rest of the association. Get some other examples of that in a little bit.
Before I get to you, Laura, I just wanted to set the stage a little bit. One of the big reasons why I wanted to invite Laura on this panel is because SCCM has had a long tradition of kind of leading the association in various different ways, either in technology, processing, membership management, engagement, customer service. Years ago, when everyone was talking about, oh yeah, I need an executive dashboard with pie charts and things, and this was like 10, 12 years ago, and David and Laura were the only organization out there that was not only doing it, but had it on like 3 different screens on all the staff's desktop, even customer service. So they were totally involved. They were very, data guided organization way back then. And their leadership in the field of AI and other things of technology is still true today. Because about a year ago, Laura's CEO, David, and Sherry did a really cool session about AI. And the amount of tools that Laura's team was using back then was amazing. Everyone was writing down furiously of all these different things. And now they took a little break because they're doing some CRM implementation. So we're not going to talk about that. But the one question I do want to ask, and I know they have a good experience, is what about policy? Now, we're going to talk about that, but the question of AI policy came up back then, and it's been coming up all the time. Connor did a poll about, how many people here have an AI policy, and some people raised their hands and some people did. And a lot of us don't really know what that means, but I wanted to throw it out to you, Laura, because you guys were out there over a year ago using AI tools. And I know your CEO, very conscious about who has access to his information, member data, because as we all know, data is, our gold. So what did you guys do about that?
Everybody else on the panel kind of makes me sound like the wild, wild west. However, we've empowered our staff to the marketing staff. We've got a quality and research staff. We've empowered them to look for tools. What we're doing, as Kevin mentioned, the IT department is, the entire IT team is so involved in the CRM. We don't have the time or the bandwidth right now to try and create policing policy, that kind of thing. But what we've done is anybody who is using any AI, we're adding to a list. And we're keeping track of everything that staff are using. Our proprietary stuff is, a lot of it is in our LMS, and that's behind a firewall. So, we're not worried about things crawling that. However, we do use AI on the LMS to look at our questions to see how, if they're too open-ended. And these are all proprietary questions for certification that we have within the organization. But that information doesn't go past the LMS, it's staff. So that's what we're seeing more or less. It's more for staff use. Need to create this graphic. And honestly, our research team is using AI, an AI tool to read scientific papers and make sure have citations and things like that to help streamline research. So they don't have to read all those papers, just like I don't have to read the contracts. So.
Let's get into some the challenges or opportunities when you're implementing, thinking about an AI tool or initiative. So, Manuel, I'll ask you this. So how did you guys get started? And why did you pick the area you did? And you could follow up with, what were some of the roadblocks you encountered that you?
Fair warning, if anybody saw that presentation earlier, I'm vanilla. So if I forget one of your questions, just bring me back to it.
Yep.
So, okay. So let's see. We had started last year looking at AI, and it started really as a IT project. We are just playing with these tools. We're playing with these toys. And as the months went by, we quickly realized, this is an enterprise type, like business type thing. It's not an IT thing. So we built a series of areas working with our CEO, who is super in favor of AI, and also as the board. We built a list of areas we wanted to improve. There was marketing, there was like a customer experience, different areas that we wanted to improve. So from there, we created these very overwhelming, daunting, like, oh, this is going to take 50 years to figure it out kind of thing. So we partner up with WorkSource to help us narrow down to a simple, more manageable. These are the three things that are the biggest impact that we want to do. And recognizing, to your point, like there's teams that are going to keep going. We don't need to stop them. Like the editorial people, they're having their own tools that they're using. We're not messing with that. The marketing team already has Hotspot available with AI. That's there. Great. We incorporated. We have our LMS, which already has AI to generate different topics. So we try to focus on areas that weren't using AI, but it was a wild, wild west. It was just each individual had their own AI tool, and each individual was creating things. And just to touch on the policy part, we started with, like a dual world policy. We have a work group has like about 10 or 11 people. And those are, very like unrestricted. It's an incubator for AI. They can get whatever they want, just go for it. The rest of the staff, very restrictive. These are the tools that we have. This is the list that we have. If you wanted something else, you got to push it through the work group to evaluate. Again, with some exceptions like marketing and what did I miss?
So how did you prioritize? You got a couple projects.
Yeah, so because we had the do more with less was an easy one, and then we actually started with data. Predictive analytics was our first thing in last year, and we quickly realized technology is not there, but if we give it 6 months, it'll probably be there. So let's just pause it for now and work on more like things that AI can answer in a more simple way that it will still make people's life easier. So yeah, we ran the list through a wide range of questions through the work group, and we narrowed down to a few things we thought, these problems are the most widely spread across staff, and AI can quickly solve for them. So let's just go with it.
Now, this is the challenges part. So what kind of challenges have you or will you be running into with the rollout?
Yeah, so challenges, believe it or not, too much buy-in. AI is your best friend. It can do whatever it says it's mine to do. So we're sort of like through the work group with the champions, we were able to manage expectations, even at the highest level. Like, AI can do everything, and it can do it yesterday. And it's one of those things where we realize, especially for predictive analytics, it's not there yet unless you invest a lot of money. So, and even there, it's not, it's it can answer some predictive analytic questions, but simple predictive analytic questions. Like a typical question I'll get is like, oh, can you tell me uh, who bought product A that also bought product B? Like, okay, well, what are you trying to get at? I was, well, I'm guessing that they're related somehow. And what AI has done is actually is lower the barriers to entry for people to become their own data analysts, which is challenging because we have a very good data team that can answer those questions. And it just sort of is a self-fulfilling prophecy. You decided that's a real answer and you just went with it. So I think that's one of the challenges, manage expectation of what AI can answer for you. Besides that, the policy, we can't keep up. And then again, AI, sometimes you ask a very reasonable question and it's a toddler answering back and you gotta like smile and be like, oh, I guess you can't get mad at AI. It's just trying its best. So.
Okay, great. No, thanks. So Mike, the same question to you is, so how and why did you get started where you did? And we'll talk about some of the challenges.
Great. Sure. So I sign up for everything. So I think I signed up for, ChatGPT 3 or what have you, and was really impressed with it. And the head of AI, the head of our IT department did use it to craft an updated email policy, and that would be me. We immediately saw the benefit of using it in IT. And from there, we had immediate needs in the marketing department. We had people leave. We just needed something to kind of generate content, generate, ads for upcoming meetings, things of that nature. And since this data is really, it's outward facing, it's, open to the public, we weren't too worried about the system stealing or training off of our information. That being said, we have to be very careful not to load our proprietary, research on ChatGPT, because that would be a disaster for us, since that's really our crown jewels, if you will.
Challenges, what roadblocks, what's in the way, or what do you think will be in the way?
So we've run into a couple hiccups. I would say that some of the less tech savvy people in our organization tend to use it wholesale, where they just kind of put in a question that may not be as well formulated. And then, we'll get an email that starts with, hello, I hope this email finds you well. And it's like, okay, did you even try to read what the answer was? So we've run into that situation. And we also we have a journal like many organizations, and we had to develop a policy for use of these kind of tools for Grammarly, for ChatGPT, LLMs, because we did have several papers that were completely generated with AI, and the math was wrong, and it was very, very obvious. That being said, we don't want to completely discourage its use because we have a lot of international submissions for papers, and English may not be their first language. So, we encourage the use of these new systems to kind of smooth over the grammatical problems that we get in our papers.
How and why did you get
We started with a couple problems to solve. So we have a fairly robust marketing team, and we're launching through our innovation lab. We're either partnering or launching new products left and right. So at our annual Congress, we launched 6 brand new products, which most of the time would freak out a marketing team. Like, are you kidding me? We're in the middle of renewals. We've got Congress, and now you want to launch 6 new products. Not kidding. That's what we did. And so that presented a lot of challenges where you think about, we have this innovation lab that's spinning up relationships with startups. There's now this B2B kind of marketing field that we weren't doing before. And so we have case studies entering the equation. Well, in ChatGPT, we use the ChatGPT Teams version, unfortunately called Teams because it has nothing to do with Microsoft. This is brilliant branding, but that's what we use. It's the paid version, so you're not feeding their LLM. It says it right in the directions. Still, I'd be careful with everything that you put in it. So we started there building custom GPTs. One, a product, a case study creator. And so we gave it our template for case studies. You give it the details, you give it a quote, you give it the pertinent information that you want it to write about. It will spit out a case study in exactly the format that we need. The marketing team then looks at me. I see a couple mouths. What? When you give it directions, very clear directions, it can give you some pretty impressive results. We found it was about 80% when it would give us those results. So that's a case study creator. Next, we move to features and benefits. Marketers in the room, you get stuck on a lot of features. I get vendor emails all the time that's all feature heavy. Don't care. I want benefits. How much money am I going to make? How many members am I going to engage? So when we think about writing that copy, you give it a list of features from these new products we're launching, it gives you all the benefits. Now we take that to our copywriter, and our copywriter has been created with our brand standards and our brand guidelines sitting behind it. So it acts like our creative director, and it can read that messaging and spit back brand appropriate type messaging. So for the marketers in the room, you can think about, you just augmented or accelerated the work that the marketing team can do through those custom GPTs. There were 2 others. One, we had a new product. We had 20 hours of video. There's an AI called Descript. We gave it 20 hours of video. It transcribed it all immediately. We then wrote a learning objective writer in custom GPT that wrote learning objectives from 20 hours of content. Then we wrote a question writer in custom GPT that created all the questions for the test. The interesting thing, all the questions were correct. It made up 2 that weren't in the content. So don't forget, AI hallucinates, don't trust it. Everybody needs to look at it with a very critical eye. But those are examples of where we're looking at across the teams. What problems could we solve? And we want to do that in a proof of concept before we started rolling it out to the association. The concerns. We all have 8 million things to do, and as cool as this is, there's a lot of concerns around data. Kevin mentioned sitting on a gold mine of data. That's what we all have in our association. We have to protect it. And so that's why we've been really careful about how we are rolling things out and where we're rolling things out.
Before I get to Laura, any questions from the in-person or virtual audience at this time? Yep, go ahead.
Hey, Eric, cool stuff you're doing with the learning and the transcription of videos. There are off-the-shelf LMSs that do that now. Why decide to build something bespoke in-house versus going out and finding a partner? How do you make that decision?
That's a great question. Our current LMS was returning correct results 50 to 70% of the time. Our custom GPTs are in the 80 to 85% range.
So Laura, my question is, there might be some people in the audience thinking, wow, custom GPTs, writing things, and that seems like it's way up here. But you got to get started somewhere. I know your team started doing this probably 18 months ago. So where did you guys start? And what was that? I know I have to take you back memory lane, but what was that for you? And maybe recommendations for some of the folks here, what to do, where to start, if you're really just starting.
Well, in our organization, our staff is pretty assertive and they will look for things on their own. And they won't necessarily at first ask IT about it, and then we get a help desk ticket that it doesn't work. But that's where we started, and that's where a number of these things start. As Kevin mentioned, when we first started with our dashboards, the CEO started that, and so we kind of leave it up to our staff. to, make good decisions. And again, we're not exposing, organization crucial data. We're not giving anything away that's, proprietary, our members' addresses and phone numbers and that kind of thing. It's mainly administrative things. And it's one of the biggest challenges is the same challenge many people have with search engines, right? If you don't ask the question correctly, you're not going to get the correct answer. And I think that's key and crucial. And you mentioned having a copywriter. That is so important because our copywriter will catch all that garbage in these things that, is, you can obviously tell something else wrote it, not a human.
The next question is, how has your use of AI changed your approach to personalized marketing or member engagement? You provide an instance where maybe predictive analytics significantly improved your decision-making process, or advice to us who are looking to implement tools, like what they should expect. So has it, part of the question, so has this process you've gone through, this journey, has it changed your approach to possibly looking at other solutions, or implementing other solutions? And also, Mike, let's start with you, because I know you're thinking really hard on this.
Yeah, geez. Having used it and used it for some time, it's an incredibly powerful tool, but with that power comes responsibility. And we've been very careful in a lot of ways with how we adopt it because of the proprietary nature of a lot of our information. So we are currently evaluating how to make a member-facing service that would provide our constituency with access to our proprietary data using a natural language model. In terms of analytics, we deal with a lot of scientific papers, which, are very technical in nature, and we found that it doesn't do well with analysis and numerical stuff. In that sense, we don't use it very heavily. We haven't been able to turn the corner on using it in a predictive fashion in our organization.
Yeah, so for marketing and engaging members, we do use it. We use it to prototype campaigns and brainstorm ideas. We use it to check the tone on emails that are going out to our to our marketing communications. There's always a human reviewing, and we also use it in customer service when we're dealing with members and we're responding to emails. So, and then we do have plans to roll out AI as a customer service chatbot. So when it comes to predictive, like I said, we have experimented. We haven't had a lot of success. More the script analytics, sure, telling me what has happened with enough training, it does, but we haven't really used AI for predictive. But again, we do have a strong data team in house that takes care of that. So we sort of been able to look the other way and keep working because we have a team that can handle it.
So we're in the same boat on the analytics side from predictive, where we have machine learning, we have predictive in place. We are not there yet with AI because we're tackling these other problems first. And the first prototypes of let's give this a shot, it was bad. So we said there's other things that we could do quicker and return results that I think are important. One of the things that we're working on is for the market, again, sorry for just the marketers in the room, but thinking about personas and audience segmentation is synthetic personas. And I'm going to demo this tomorrow, surprise. So thinking about building your personas and taking all of the qualitative and quantitative data that you've used to build that persona and training a custom GPT to be that person. So we've created one called Alicia. It's Alicia Newcomer. Newcomer is our newcomer persona. It's 0 to 2 years in the profession. And I can tell you all kinds of things about it. Tomorrow, you get to hear her talk. Now, imagine being able to run questions and ideas across this synthetic persona. Hundreds of ideas, thousands of ideas. You can take qualitative feedback from members, feed it to this 0 to 2 years in the profession persona that's been created based on your member data and your research. That's an example of what's possible. And now you're talking about new product development. You're talking about campaign messaging, all kinds of things think about the amount of humans that you used to have to pull together to digest that information and then create copy that would resonate or come up with new products and services. So that's just we just finished building Alicia. Some of you will get to meet her tomorrow, but that's an example of, I think, we'll have a huge opportunity to bring that to members going forward.
Oh, great. So, Laura, this question is to you. I know you're in the middle of a CRM AMS implementation, but based on you and David and your staff's experience working with AI tools over the last, 18 months, has your approach to just doing another AMS implementation changed a little bit, or what's your expectations now that some of these platforms, especially, Microsoft, has a lot of investment in AI like Copilot. So how has that changed your approach and just to, implementing a new system? And I'm going to give you my mic because I think some of the online folks are having troubles hearing us.
So yes, we are implementing a system based on Microsoft Dynamics 365. Copilot is part of it. So right now we've got test data in the new system, and it's not our entire database in the new system, but right now you click on a member record and Copilot says, oh, do you want to know how many of the X number of records, corresponding member types that are in the system? And it just starts asking you questions. Now, granted, the answers are wrong, but it's the system is learning, and that's the thing with AI. It has to learn, and it's not that familiar with our data yet. It's not getting a full picture, but it's interesting nonetheless that these things are happening. And as someone mentioned, customer service, that's going to be there for customer service. It's going to say, hey, this guy's a member of the board and he hasn't renewed his dues, hit him up for dues money. I see that coming. It's interesting with Power BI, which is, we use heavily within the AMS. And I'm seeing a lot of AI being integrated into Power BI using Power Apps and things like that. And it's going to make it easier for our end users to start asking regular language questions and getting, quick answers. How many of this member type is in this part of the country, or, within this zip code range. It's not perfect yet, but these things are learning.
When you're telling us about that, what I was recalling was, remember years ago, we all wanted our websites search to work like Google. And everybody remember Google Appliance that we all had like plug into our server rooms and, right? Remember that? Yeah. It has to work like Google. That's what our board said, right? Or, buying products and books, just like Amazon.com. And if you had the resources like Amazon and, you can build a spaceship to go to the moon, yeah, you should have an experience like Amazon.com. But one of my things is, I was going to ask is, as AI just becomes more and more of our daily lives, do you guys think there'll be an expectation out there of having what I would call a CUI, a conversational UI? So you're not typing, you're just, send out all the dues renewals for the first, right? Or it just knows to do that. You don't have to say it. It just something comes back saying you had X number of renewals, that's a 40% increase over last year. So I don't want you guys to answer that question, but I'm just thinking as we all get used to it, just like we all get used to like Googling, right? We're all expecting that conversational user interface. But talking about the future, looking ahead, what emerging AI technologies do you think they'll be out in the next, it says 2 to 4 years, but I don't think we can predict more than, 6 months. So maybe next year, this time, what are those future AI technologies that would help all of us increase our operational efficiencies or member engagement? So I know we're going to put on our helmets and think about the future. Given that AI has a doubling time of 6 months, 12 months, that means everything's going to do it twice. from today. So who wants to go first on that question?
For me, the way I think about it, the three areas that I broke it down to how we're looking at AI: automate, accelerate, and augment. I think there's going to be a layer, whether or not this in a year, I don't know, but I feel as though there's going to be a layer of bots that are doing work that we don't need to be doing. I think they're going to automate a certain amount of work. Anybody spent a lot of time on reporting you wish you never had to do again? And it's not just dashboards, because we all use dashboards. We all still use PowerPoint. We have reporting. A bunch of our marketing team is like, please, can we not keep making all these reports? That would be an example of how could we automate that. And I think there's going to be a layer of that automation that we're all just used to kind of working. I also think that there will be bots that we're creating to talk to other bots that will kind of remove this base level of work. And I'll give you an example. When you go to the doctor, has anybody sat with your primary physician and they're sitting there typing? Why should they ever need to touch a keyboard when they're meeting with a patient? If we can help providers come back to be able to put their hand on a patient again and to walk them through whatever they're dealing with, and that level of emotional intelligence instead of typing on a keyboard, and imagine the burnout that creates for them. There should be this layer, and Amazon's working on this right now because we all have Siri in our kitchen, or Alexa in our kitchen, sorry. I think there's going to be that level of automation that we're all like, yeah, it's working in the background. It just makes life easier. And so I think that's coming. I don't know if it's a year, but at the doubling every 6 months, it's out of control. So who knows? We may have flying cars.
No, since you have a great answer, I'm just going to agree with it. No, I think like I agree with you. I think the whole notion of bots taking care of all these tasks that we don't need to be taking care of, like contract review, like virtual paralegal stuff. Like there's like 5 clauses that I'm always looking for. I don't need to like read 70 pages. Just give me those clauses. Tell me if I can get out of this contract. Like I don't need to like yeah like. And then things like voice type assistant, like how many times you like, I don't know about you all, but I often am dragging staff into the office and just brainstorming ideas on like, oh, why do we do this? What do we do that? What do we do? People are like, well, like that's gonna conflict with this conference, and we're gonna have an issue with it's like all basic procedural stuff that it's all in people's head, and you're just brainstorming it, and they're like shutting down. So that will be things that will also be there, just like brainstorming stuff with the AI that it just knows because it knows the operational, like behind the scenes of all the things that are happening in your organization. So yeah, I think that's going to be there. And as much as I talk bad about predictive analytics, I think eventually it's going to get there, and I think it's going to get there sooner rather than later.
So the future of AI, I would say that currently with the large language models that run mainly off of like an operation called a transform, we're getting to where it's no longer an exponential increase. It's dependent on the amount of data you can kind of have it trained on and the CPU power. But for all that work that you do, you're getting diminishing returns now. So the larger the model, you're not seeing like the jump from like say ChatGPT 3 to ChatGPT 4. What's interesting is, as I mentioned before, this new model that came out 6 days ago is using a slightly different technology that is actually layered on multiple models. And it kind of takes that training curve and adds a new curve regarding inferencing. The thing that's really interesting is that now is very computationally intensive. And then if we know about Moore's law, every 18 months, like computation doubles. There's a lot of headroom in this technology. So I would say in the short term, expect AI everywhere, because that's like the big thing. You're going to get fatigued. There'll be AI in your coffee cup. It's just inevitable. But the interesting thing about it is that there's a lot of headroom in this technology. It's going to move more towards computer vision, a lot of categorization, things of that nature. And I think in like 4 years, it's going to be integration of AR and AI. So it'll be sort of like Terminator, like, you got your thing and it's like, this is this person, this is that person. So that's my futurist prediction.
Great.
All right, I'm going to go in a different direction here, and I am going to say we are going to see regulations coming up because people are freaking out about this. And in some cases, rightfully so. How much of your data do you want to be, calculated on? And, it's going to decide who you are as a person, and I can target you perfectly. I think we're going to see some pushback. And, probably not the answer the IT people in here want to hear, but that's kind of where I see things going. Because people are already upset with things like Alexa and personalized ads showing up on Facebook. And because the systems know you so well, it's only collecting more and more and more data. So I see more regulations coming in. I'm Debbie Downer right now, but
I know a lot of us just got out of the server closet and into the cloud, but because of all the processing power we're going to need to crunch all that data, we're going to need cooling centers now back in our offices or even on our laptops. Because right now they get really warm, but in the next couple of years or even sooner, we're going to need those cooling centers. I know we're up against time, but I wanted to see if anyone else had a question.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Here, over here, the Irish guy over here, okay?
Yep.
Who should be responsible for AI in an organization? It kind of defaults maybe to IT, but is that the right place as to where it should go?
I think AI is like saying who should oversee the internet, like who should oversee, like it's just, you have policy, which will be guided by, HR, IT, the legal team. Then you have general use, which will be again IT, but in general, no, you gotta have different teams depending on what you're talking about. If you're talking about marketing, it's gonna be marketing. If you're talking about products, it's gonna be whatever the product team is. AI itself is not a thing that it fits under one bucket. It's just, technology. And then who's using it as the people that are gonna oversee it and for that specific use case. At least that's my take on it.
because I'm in IT, I'm not a marketing expert, and I don't, know down to the letter what their needs are. The same thing with our research department. I don't know what they need. So we have to kind of leave it up to the staff and we have to trust them.
To answer your question, Connor, my webmaster has nothing to do these days, so I'm going to anoint him AI master and go that way. All right, let's give it up for our panel. Awesome.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and discovered tips and information that will add value to your leadership style and your association. .org Source specializes in positioning teams for success with solutions for technology, strategy, and marketing. Please contact us at info@orgsource.com or visit www.orgsource.com to find out how to keep your organization on track to Association 4.0.